Dave, and I'd like to bring you inside my home and out in the back and show you my new solar system. Actually, it's not quite new. It was installed in March, and it's been going for a couple months and producing like gangbusters. It's doing great, and we're really happy with it. But let's go in. My name is David Tucker. I live here with my wife Helen, and sometimes my adult daughters live here too, and they come up and visit for a period of time. And we've been thinking over this last winter, we could see our PG&E electric bills going up, and there's news reports that PG&E was raising its rates, and we were getting really concerned about that because we are on fixed incomes. We're both retired, and so we're looking for ways to reduce costs, you know, and especially looking at the future when they predict that the PG&E bills are going to go up even more. So we wanted to kind of nip that, you know, so that we won't be affected by increases in the future. The moment when we decided we really needed to act was we got our December-January bill. December 20th to January 20th was extremely cold and wet, and we used a lot of electricity. We're all electric, so we had our heat pump going a lot. Even though we have a wood fireplace, our bill still exceeded what we had ever expected to get. It was over $900 a month for our PG&E bill for that, and our usage was like double what it would normally be, even in the winter. So we decided, well, let's look into solar. So I started to do research on solar, find out what. There's a lot of information online. There's a lot of YouTube videos, you name it. There's a lot of websites where you can go and get information about solar power. And one of the things I learned was when you're looking at having a solar installation, it seems like companies that have a C46 license seem to have more all-around skills and knowledge about these systems, because I noticed that there's a lot of electricians, which is a C10 license, and HVAC installers, which is a C24 license, that want to get into the business, and they don't always have all the information that they need to be, you know, to be good contractors for something like that. They might be really excellent at anything having to do with their HVACs or the electricians with theirs, but I don't think that they have the comprehensive knowledge that a C46 or solar contractor license would have. And so we interviewed 4 different C46 contractors. 3 of them are very large firms that are based in either the Bay Area or Southern California, and they have a local satellite office. We invited them to quote on their systems, and I found that in each case they would send a salesman, which is fine, and they would provide information and give us a rough estimate of what, you know, and a rough estimate about what they would want to install. But they wouldn't give really specific information, and they said, well, that would come after the site survey. And so I said, well, let's do the site survey then. And they said, well, first of all, you have to sign a contract with us. And I said, well, I'm not signing a contract until after I know what I'm getting, you know, after the survey. And that kind of put us at an impasse. So I called the 4th solar contractor. This one is local, based in the Sacramento, Roseville area. Soul Power. So Patrick Weller is the president, and he has a C-46 license. Came up to sit with us and tell us about what he would propose for our system. And he had done a lot of research on it, and he went outside, and he even flew a drone over our house and took a battery of photos, which I thought was really cool. And they gave a lot of extra information about our roof and about how he might place panels on it. And so essentially what we got was, by the time he left, we got our site survey, and he was there for a couple hours, and we sat down and gave us a quotation, and we said, well, let us sleep on it, think about it. And a couple days later we called him and said, you're hired. We want you to install our system. So the period of the design of the system then occurred, and let me show you the way that the system design came out for our roof. There's 3 basically southeasterly facing panels and 23 southwesterly facing panels, and that's really the way it had to be based on our roof. And so this was run by us, and we approved it, and we're happy with the layout. He proposed 325 watt, each one 325 watt Panasonic panels, and we checked out the rating of these, and they had high marks. They were considered one of the better panels. And then also he worked with Solar Edge, so we got a Solar Edge inverter, that's the brains of the system, and it interfaces between the PG&E's smart meter and the system on the roof, which also includes electrical conduit wiring. And he also, at his recommendation, we had him add solar optimizers, also by Solar Edge. And these optimizers, what they do is they take any shade factors or anything that's going on with the system, and they kind of equalize it so that I'm not sure exactly how they work, but they make it so that if any one part of your system is not quite up to par, they make up the difference in each panel. It's like having a separate circuit to your inverter for each panel instead of 3 circuits, which is what we have. The optimizers really do help, and I think I can see that in the usage pattern, because one thing Solar Edge has is for its customers has a monitoring system which is very thorough, and all the customers can subscribe to this for no extra charge, and that's what we did. So we can actually monitor the usage on each one of our panels, and then the total system panel, and then there's lots of charts and graphs showing what's going on with the overall daily, weekly, and monthly and annual usage or not usage, but production on our roof. One of the best things about our contract is we had talked to other people, neighbors who had signed with other contractors, with other providers of solar, and they were complaining that they signed the contract like 2 or 3 months ago, and they still didn't have a solar installation, not even an inkling that was being scheduled. And one thing Patrick says, you don't have to worry about that. You sign this contract and we'll have it installed within a month. And it was installed within a month. We signed the contract, and I think it was something like 22 days, 21 or 22 days from contract to the installation, and then a few more days later, we got PG&E's approval and the approval of El Dorado County Building Department to start up our system. And the whole time, I think it was 22 or 23 days. And our neighbors waiting, they could see our system up and running, and theirs wasn't installed yet. But they couldn't do much about it. Fortunately for them, about a few weeks later, after I think 3 months after contract signing, they finally got their installation. We were really pleased with the way it went, and it went very efficiently and smoothly. And we're getting, it's May now, so the sun's high in the sky, and we're getting every day now that it's not cloudy, which is almost every day, we get 50 kilowatts or 50,000 watts of production on the average a day. Most days are right around 50. Some, if there's a few, kind of a cloud bank here or there, it might go down in the high 40s. Our highest is like 53 kilowatts. And what that means is, probably doesn't mean much to people about, well, what's a kilowatt and what's 1,000 watts, but how does that cut into my bill and the usage? And what it does for us is, our average usage right now, this time of year, because we're not using much we're not using our heat pump that much. We're averaging between 30 and 40 kilowatts of usage a day. So that means if we're producing 50 a day, we have a negative usage of, say, 10 or 15 or even 20 kilowatts a day. And what that does to our bill is pushes it the other direction. And we're really happy about that, because since we're all electric, we've always had a very significant and sometimes very high PG&E bill. And in any month when our bill goes negative, my wife and I are very happy. My wife really doesn't get too much into the details. She says, just show me the bottom line. Show me that we're saving money, and that we're using less. Right now we're using less than we produce, and I think that's just fantastic. And we paid for our system outright, and what that enables us to do is, on our taxes for this next year, we get a 30% tax credit on our expense, and so that's a significant savings on our taxes. So we're looking forward to instead of paying out on taxes this next year, we expect to get a refund. But during the spring and summer and fall, I believe that we're going to have very, very low or negative billing, and in the winter we'll have reduced billing. I mean, it's going to be instead of bills of the average bill in the winter is usually around 400. I expect that they're going to be significantly lower than that. We're really happy about our choice, hiring Soul Power, and then the fact that and also our choice just to have solar as opposed to not solar, because the PG&E bills are just going to go up, and a higher proportion of people on fixed incomes, a higher proportion of their incomes is going to be going to just keeping their homes warm or cool, depending on the season. And we really don't worry about that anymore. I would recommend SoPar for one reason. They're a locally based business, and they're not so large as to be impersonal and unresponsive. And I was getting an inkling of that with some of the bigger companies that I interviewed with, and other ones that I called, and also reading reviews of people that had systems, because I did a lot of research, including looking at the review blogs on solar sites, and there was complaints about unresponsiveness, on the parts of some of the other large solar contractors, the ones, especially the ones based in San Francisco or Los Angeles or San Diego, and they have the satellite office here in Sacramento, but it just doesn't seem as responsive. They don't seem as responsive as Patrick and SoPower have been. When I have a concern or question, I get an almost immediate response within an hour or so. Patrick is very enthusiastic, and he's really diligent about making sure that the customer is satisfied and pleased with the product, and that's another reason why we're happy with the choice. And I think that I would recommend SoPower to anybody who's looking into solar power, and I really think that it would, check out other ones. It's a good idea to do some research on it, but I did all that, and I know that there's, if somebody doesn't do their due diligence looking into the systems, they might have some doubts, but I don't have any doubts because I did my due diligence and did my homework and research before hiring SoPower, and I know that I made the right decision.